Hey, Sean here from SpeedCubeReview.com. So let's take a look at how to build the cross. Now, I've said in the past that the cross is more of an intuitive thing, but there are some tips you can use to help that process and get a little bit faster with it. I'm just going to randomly scramble this cube. When starting out, solving the cross on the top is okay. At some point in the future, you want to turn that around and do it on the bottom. A couple things to know about the cube. Remember that the centers never move. Even if I do this, the centers are still in their same spot. I just move that middle layer. So white, green, orange are always moved clockwise around this way. When I have people first try to solve the cube, I say to solve a cross, don't worry about where the centers are though. So for example, we have that piece. This one can move up right here. So we've got that piece. And then we've got a couple other ones that are kind of hard to put in. And this is where a lot of people call bad edges. So good edges are ones that we can just move in with one turn like that. But something like this, we can't. It's turned around. So we have to do two turns. The most efficient thing would be to move this layer over and then up. But we have one more piece here, and this is where it gets a little more difficult. When you're building the cross on the top, remember that the opposite layer is a free layer. You can do anything with this and not mess up that top layer at all. So what I'll often tell people to do is move anything that's a bad edge that you can't just turn in, move it to an open spot and turn it 90 degrees. Just do one turn and that'll put it on the side. And then again, we can't just move it right in. We're going to have to move that top layer over and then up. Now, as you see, these do not line up with the centers. Now, that happened to solve them actually in the correct spots. It doesn't look like it right now because of centers, but that moved them into place. So just work on building the cross. Whether you have good edges that can just move right into place like this, or a bad edge that you have to move out of the way and then up. But remember, you always have this bottom layer that you can use to move pieces around. And this top layer, you can move it around. You can move it like this and then up. I see a lot of times people start and they don't really know where to go. So they keep doing this and they don't want to move this cross layer. Now, these are in place. Oh, those ones are too. Let's say it looked like this. Green and red opposite, and red and green opposite. Now, as you saw how I put those into place, there's a pretty efficient way of switching them. But what I tell people to do to start is to move one of the pieces to the other side, line it up, and then move it into place. That popped that red one out, so I move it over and then up. The two main things to know is that there's what's called bad edges, which need two movements to be put into place, and that you can use this bottom layer to move pieces around. Don't worry so much about getting them into the correct spot, but just making a cross in the first place. Once you get more comfortable with that, then try to get them into their correct spots. And I'll link the video in the description where I talk about building the cross out of order and then moving it into place. Once you get better at the cross, you want to flip it over. And just an example of what might be a more efficient solve would look like this. So I have the white on bottom. I see two edge pieces here. Those ones I can move in with just one turn. Green is here and blue is here. So I know that blue, if I move that down, red is going to have to go right there, the way those centers are oriented. Orange is always opposite red, so orange has to be there. And green has to be right here. So what I would do is I move blue down and red down, and then move green over, and then just have that orange one left. And so I'm going to move the cross and bring that orange one down. And that made it. Now, if that was confusing to watch, that's because it takes time to understand how the cube is set up, knowing what side is what while you're solving. I tend to do a lot of white crosses. If you really want to learn an advanced way from the start doing crosses on all sides. If you limit yourself now to just doing white cross, you'll be like me where you feel like you get stuck doing that all of the time. I hope this helped some people. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. If this felt a little bit too simple, check out that video linked in the description. Thank you very much, and as always, stop by speedcubeview.com for more news and reviews.